Hello, hello, Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl Astrology and Wisdom Weaver who weaves the stars, the story of the stars, the tarot, and a bit of good, healthy dose of intuition as well. And I'm recording this on Saturday, July the 20th. What a week we have just had, starting with the Mars-Uranus Algol conjunction. That's brought quite a lot of chaos and discord all week. Mercury passed the degree at which it will station direct in August and is now in the shadow period. Now, I'm not generally a big user of the shadow period, but I think it's adding to the discord at the moment because Mercury is making a series of aspects that are going to happen 3 times that are all quite significant. So I've been talking about that in my blog as well, which is on Substack, and that's in the description. You can find my Substack, and that's where I do a written week ahead report as well and post this video to that. So you can make sure you can go and see the list of transits on Substack as well. I always list them out, dates, times, degrees, all the things of the major aspects for the week. But anyway, so I started last week's report saying that the week was bookended by that conjunction at the start, then the full moon, which is tonight, at the end. So that means that the full moon launches next week. So we're going to dive in now and go through all the aspects. I've also pulled 3 cards for the week ahead, and they are a bit nicer cards. So I don't see this week being quite as disruptive. However, we are still in a very chaotic time, but I do kind of feel that things are going to be becoming clearer. Anyway, let's look at the astrology. And as usual, I've always set things to Eastern time, Washington, D.C., just because I have to pick a time. So you can see that we start the week as we hit midnight tonight, between the 20th and the 21st. The moon is in Capricorn, almost full moon because it's opposing the sun. I did an entire video on the full moon, but just a quick recap. This moon is conjunct Pluto, this book moon, it's called. It's actually square to Eris, and Eris is stationing retrograde tomorrow too, on the 21st. And it's also in an aspect to Neptune, a sextile aspect. The moon itself, the full moon itself is, it's also in a trine to Uranus. So all the big discordant energies, basically, this moon aspects, and it's at the anaretic degree, which is a 10th degree anyway. The moon is out of bounds. So this is a big, a big buck full moon. It's known as the buck full moon. And I literally just kind of thought as I was writing the written version of this that, all these bucks are going to be locking horns on this full moon. There's going to be a lot of horn locking. However, to start the week, I will say that because the full moon is the full light of the moon, and it's the moon and sun opposing each other. So it's a lot of light shining, illuminating things. And it's conjunct Pluto, which digs out the trash. I will say a lot of things are coming to light, but there is going to be a lot of horn locking. And interestingly, I'm not just talking about out in the political world. Just in the area where I live, we live near a country club, and the country club thinks that money can do what money wants to do. And we are not on it, we're near it, but there's a lot of horn locking going on there about something that this country club wants to build right at the back of some properties. And it's just interesting how these things show up in many ways. And Pluto is often about power and manipulation, but Pluto digs it out and digs out the excrement and reveals it. It excavates it, and it also excavates buried treasures. So that's the full moon. Now let's just talk about what else is happening on this day, because where's the I can't remember. Oh, it's here. I put it down there. Okay, so my list of aspects. So I just want to give you the aspects for the day, but again, you can find them in written form on my Substack blog as well. So Sunday, okay, we have the full moon. That's at 6:17 a.m. You can also watch the full video on the full moon if you like. Almost just over an hour after the moon moves into Aquarius, and Aquarius is able to see the bigger picture. Remember, the light's really revealing a lot of things, and Aquarius is kind of able to kind of connect dots and see patterns. Okay, so the moon moves into Aquarius at 7:43 a.m. Eastern and will be in Aquarius for a couple of days. Then at 2:43 p.m., Eris, who I love to call the shit stirrer, but she is a truth teller as well. She stations retrograde, and stations are always turning points. You know, I don't pay much attention to the period in the middle when the slow-moving planets are retrograde, though they do come a bit closer to Earth, so their impact is felt more. But the days around the station retrograde or direct are often quite potent. And Eris, if you remember, threw in the apple of discord and kind of revealed the artifice going on at the wedding of the gods, with the gods and goddesses all there. Okay. She's said to have caused the Trojan War, but really she didn't. You know, she played a part because she threw in this apple asking who was the fairest of all the goddesses, and then everybody fought amongst themselves. So it feels like Eris is throwing apples in on this full moon as well. Interesting that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez here in the US is being very vocal about what could happen if the push to replace Biden makes him step down, because she's whip smart. And she is saying, anyway, you can follow her Instagram. But my point is, she has a very strong Eris, and she's a bit of a truth teller herself. So then after Eris stations retrograde, remember that impact is going to be around, like, really for all of at least the early part of the week, about 5 days either side, we feel the station. At 4:43 p.m., this is probably the bright thing in the day. Venus in Leo makes a lovely supportive aspect to Jupiter in Gemini, right on my moon, at 12 degrees 30 Leo, Gemini. And you know, this is the two benefics, so to speak, and it's a supportive aspect. But that's not only that, though. Venus is returning to the point, the exact degree where she stationed direct last September after her retrograde. And she is conjunct Vesta, the inner flame, but also the flame of the state or the hearth. And Jupiter in Gemini is very expansive. I think, you know, there's going to be a lot of change of heart with this and all the other energy. So in a few things, okay, change of heart and mind. Leo is the heart, Gemini, the mind, all right? or at least the beginning of, and it may be related to something that happened during the Venus retrograde last summer. So Venus was retrograde last summer from July 22nd, because she stationed retrograde on the feast day of the Magdalene, to September the 3rd. And September the 3rd was when she stationed direct at 12 degrees Leo. So, it's good to remember these degrees sometimes. I think, there's going to be some echo from last September. So look for that. All right, back to the aspects again. What else do we have after that? So after Venus sextiles Jupiter, Mercury over here in Leo, remember he's past 21 Leo, which incidentally was where Venus met the Sun for the Venus star point at 20 Leo last August the 13th. So Mercury will station direct at that 21 Leo. Yes, that's the word. And that will be on August the 29th. All right. So, Mercury's now in the shadow zone. Mercury trined at Chiron. Mercury will trine, or has trined Eris today, and is going to square Uranus. Okay, so, all these discordant energies over here, or healing energies, but also causing like healing crisis and things like that, Mercury is aspecting. But the square to Uranus, Mercury square Uranus, is at 6:20 p.m. on Sunday the 21st. We start the week with a bang. And Mercury and Uranus are kind of the same octave. They are thought, ideas, aha moments. Uranus is more the kind of light bulb. Mercury is the transference of messages and communication and ideas. So there's going to be, I think something pretty big could come out in the news tomorrow, really. Then at 11:25 p.m. Tomorrow night, the Sun reaches the end of Cancer and trines Neptune. Now that's happening overnight for us, at least here. But even no matter where you are, you're going to feel that building all day. Now that has a bit more sparkle and dreamy magic to it. And intuition, tune into your intuition with that and your gut Cancer feelings. Okay. Now, the last aspect on a very busy first day of the week, the rest of the week has nothing like this. At 11:47 p.m. exactly, has Mars, which has just moved into Gemini today. Mars is going to trine Pluto. So, and Mars is in Gemini, which is Mercury ruled. Whatever Pluto is digging up under the light of this full moon is really going to come to light, and people are going to start making a lot of noise about things in all areas of life. So maybe, interestingly, right after this Tuesday evening, there's a council meeting about the local thing here as well. And Gemini is often the local community, by the way, as well. So, this is not just about what's happening in the bigger world. So think locally as well, and think, how it's affecting you. Monday, let's move on. So that's probably going to take the longest of all this video, going through the first day of the week, because there's so much. Monday, July the 22nd, the moon is in Aquarius all day, seeing that bigger picture. Moon in Aquarius is also a little bit more detached emotionally. So, you'll be able to kind of take a step back and just look at what's happening and think about it rather than get very emotionally embroiled in it. But then at 3:44 a.m. on Monday, the sun moves into Leo, and it's Leo season. Happy birthday to all Leos. And as soon as the sun moves into Leo, she squares Haumea, creatrix Haumea, forcing some of this change and rebirth that is happening as we move into unprecedented changing times. I'm writing a little bit more on the blog to give you more detail. And I will be recording a joint video with astrologer Steve Judd on the 29th about this. It really is unprecedented, this shift, because all these outer planets changing signs. So Haumea has moved into Scorpio, Pluto into Aquarius, even though it's going to dip back into Capricorn from September the 1st to November the 19th this year. Sedna has moved into Gemini. Haumea and Sedna have moved into those signs permanently. They're not retrograding back into the previous signs anymore. But this is all going to be followed by Neptune and Saturn, incidentally, leaving Pisces and entering Aries, and Uranus entering Gemini. And all these planets are speaking to each other by aspect. It's kind of amazingly outstanding. But I'm kind of getting off the thing. The sun every year will aspect this, but the sun will square Haumea, okay, on Monday. Now, Haumea is like birth, but she is like messy birth. She is painful birth. She is, like, birth is not always pretty and painful, and often birth can be a bit destructive. Anybody that's given birth, as I have, will know that it doesn't really do your body much good, even though your body's made for it. There's often damage caused in the birthing process, even if something beautiful comes from it. It's birth is not easy. And this is Haumea in Scorpio, birthing and really excavating into the power dynamics in that dark force of scorpionic kind of soul energy. So, and also a reminder that I did an article on my Substack called Aspect of the Decade. I'm sure you can find it if you go and search it on my Substack. Haumea and Pluto are approaching the 6th of 13 squares at the 0 mark. So, every time something activates this, it's pushing us further towards this new paradigm that we're moving into. But when the sun squares Haumea, you may hear something about, the climate or something, but this is a bigger picture kind of energy. So is not so much a personal one, but I do want to mention it. But adding to that, Mars, newly in Gemini on Monday, moves to 1 degree of 1 degree and 1 minute of Gemini and meets Sedna. And Sedna was last here at the start of the Neolithic age, when humanity moved from hunter-gathering to starting to create community and till the land and things. So, Sedna has this energy of really adapting to major changes. Okay, and Mars is conjunct Sedna as well. So the Sun and Mars aspecting these bigger energy changes on Monday. I would watch for what's out there in the news, or at least watch for what it feels like. Okay. Now moving on to Tuesday. That's all the aspects on Monday. On Tuesday, the moon is still in Aquarius until 9:22 a.m. and then goes into the nebulous realms of Pisces for a couple of days. So we move from the bigger picture to pure feeling, compassion, intuition, and sensing for a couple of days. All right. And And then the sun will come up and oppose Pluto at that 0 degree mark, kind of perfecting that T-square with Haumea, and also really aspecting this Mars-Sedna conjunction. So, you know, that was something you're going to feel the surge of bigger changes, even if it's not yet clear how this is all going to land, okay? But that's it for the day. Wednesday, moon in Pisces all day, no major aspects. I talk about all the lunar aspects in detail on my daily Substack for paid subscribers if you want the nitty-gritty and the details and a lot more teachable moments. Consider becoming a paid subscriber on Substack. I love Substack so much. But Substack and YouTube, they're my go-tos. Okay. Thursday, July the 25th. So moon will stay in Pisces until 10:52 a.m. and then move into Aries. So again, I go through the details on my Substack blog, but at 6:41 p.m. on Thursday, Mercury, trotting along, moves into Virgo, where he will get to 4 degrees and then station retrograde. And Mercury is the guide for the sign of Virgo and the sign of Gemini. So, you know, he's happy in that sign, but he is reaching, you know, the station zone, so to speak, the retrograde station zone. And Mercury's going to go retrograde on August the 5th. And so Mercury in Gemini, though, I'm sorry, in Virgo, is more about thinking, planning, and the details of what's meaningful and what's service oriented. Mercury in Virgo is very much about crafts as well, or doing things literally with your hands that are useful. So Mercury will enjoy being in Virgo, but he won't be there for long until he goes retrograde and back into Leo. But then, you know, he'll come back again as well. And so Mercury, that's one energy shift again. So we had the Eris station retrograde, Mercury into Virgo, Sun into Leo. A lot of energy sign changing this year. And then at 10:32 p.m. on Thursday, the Leo Sun will sextile Mars. So, and that's fire and air, very, very creative. So we had the Venus Jupiter sextile and the Sun Mars sextile. So that's very fired up energy, but it's a supportive aspect. But so it actually feels like it bodes quite well for taking a stand type of communication in the community and speaking from the heart. Okay, so it feels quite nice. You know, it's a much nicer week than last week, even though we're still in a crazy chaos. So Friday, Venus Day. The moon will be in Aries all day, but on Friday at 9:58 a.m., Chiron also stations retrograde. And so, you know, we get another shifting of energies. Now, Chiron was at 19 degrees back on April the 8th on the big eclipse we had, the solar eclipse. And Chiron is going to go back to that 19-degree mark. So you're going to be retracing something that began around that eclipse. Okay, revisiting your healing journey, I think, as well, revealing where you've kind of been doing that, filling the gold in the cracks and letting the light in, doing your healing. I've been through an amazing healing journey, but there's always some more revisiting we can do. The core of that is about finding your selfness and taking a stand for you. So that's Chiron stationing retrograde. So another shift in a load of shifts. On to Saturday, the last day of the week. The moon will still be in Aries and until 1:22 p.m. and then we'll move into Taurus, where it's always much more rooted and grounded. And and that's at 1:22 p.m., as I said, Eastern. But then late at night on Saturday, July the 27th, that we have the moon square the sun, the last quarter moon, the crisis in consciousness as we head towards another new moon. That's always a crossroads, a turning point, and that's going to be at 5 degrees Taurus and Leo. And that 5-degree Taurus Scorpio line has been a very hot axis, okay? And the 6-degree Leo Aquarius line is a hot axis. So this last quarter moon is a pivotal time. 6 degrees Leo is also the north node of the USA's chart, and it's where Mars will station retrograde later this year. So pay attention to what comes up on this last quarter moon. You know, whilst I do not think Biden should step down at this point, and I actually don't think he will, I still think there's some changes and chaos to come before the election. And that could be in, I think Biden has said he would step down if the doctors told him he had a condition that meant he could not, think rationally. I mean, he has arthritis, so his physical frailty is strengthened, but he has not been diagnosed with dementia or anything like that. But he did say that if he ever was, then he would consider withdrawing. Also, there's been quite a lot of predictions from other astrologers that neither candidate will be the candidate in November. So this is one of the turning points. Mars stationing retrograde later this year is going to be interesting, but also a day to watch or around the day. So Mars doesn't station retrograde till after the election, by the way, so there could just be some trouble after the election. But a day to watch regarding all of that energy is September the 1st. On September the 1st, Pluto moves back into Capricorn and Uranus stations retrograde. And Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. That's a very discordant direction changing moment as well. And Uranus is opposing Biden's Sun and Venus in Scorpio, and it's Uranus is square to the orange ones, Mars in Leo on his ascendant. So that's a day to watch as well. It's going to be interesting. So that's it for the week. There's no other aspects. We finish at 10:51 p.m. next Saturday night with the last quarter square, 5 degrees, 32 minutes, Taurus and Leo. And I'm like, oh, really? Can you stay off that 6-degree Taurus Scorpio line, please? Because it's my midheaven and I see, but it's all good. I'm all good. I think forewarned is prepared, and we're able to ride the wave more easily, which is why I put out so much content and why I encourage you to at least learn the basics of your own chart and to understand placements and degrees so that you know if the energies are affecting you. This week particularly will affect the areas of Aries and Leo in your chart. So that's probably the same areas of life that you experienced some change in when Venus was retrograde last summer, but also from all that eclipse energy in April and since. So, okay, so let's change the share to the cards. And let's have a look at the 3 cards I picked for this week. But before I do, I forgot to ask you to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and go and check out my Substack too. Free subscribers get weekly forecast, and I also do previews on some daily posts where there's something I really think people need to hear. But paid subscribers support my work and they get the full daily reports. There's no obligation, but I am grateful for all subscriptions. Okay, so first card is Eight of Swords reversed. Now, I like the Eight of Swords reversed. Interestingly, we've got 2 8s as well, and we're in an 8-year, by the way. So, and an 8-year is a year of like finding some stability. It doesn't feel that way, but or bringing some stability back. But if you kind of look underneath the energies, there is some stability coming back in places. Like in the US, Biden has been like unarguably, if you look at the actual record of what he's done, the most progressive president in decades, and he's bringing a lot of stability back in the wealth gap and things like that, which is probably why the big money wants him out and why the right want him out. I think a lot of this campaign, there's evidence emerging that it's been funded by the far right. But also we saw like the French voters and the British voters kind of vote for the more stable option. You might not like the option, but particularly, but they were more stable than the other alternative. So anyway, so Eight of Swords is swords are funny in the tarot. I find the reversed cards are usually more positive than the upright. Okay, because it's the swords is our mental energy and our thinking, and it's all going on inside really. So I love that the reverse are more positive, but this is the Jupiter in Gemini card, and we do have Jupiter in Gemini, right? Okay, right now. And so this is a number of mastery in the tarot, the 8, and this is about kind of release, freedom, vision, escape. Also in this deck, she says the reversed is, she reads it differently. She says it's a refusal to open yourself up to truth and being pessimistic. But I don't read the reverse 8 of Swords that way. I feel it is, and Jupiter expands the mind. I feel this is an opening up of the mind to new perspectives and also escaping some trapped ideas and old ideas stuck. I think there's going to be a lot, probably because of the information that comes our way, it's being revealed. I do think this week minds are going to be opened and a lot of truth spoken. 8 of Pentacles. So we get another 8. Yay. And this one is actually the Virgo card, the Sun in Virgo though. And this is again a number of mastery, the 8. And this one though is warning about carelessness, lack of attention to detail, and low and kind of losing your work ethic. I always see this as a caution. This is kind of about seeking shortcuts, not for your detriment. This is also feeling a little bit burned out, giving up, sporadic output, and also it can be analysis paralysis or perfectionism leading to feelings of inadequacy and not finding joy in your work. So just know that, there may be a little bit of that this week of just kind of, just feeling burned out, slacking off a bit, analysis paralysis, probably related to Mercury's move into Virgo as well, actually. So there you go, especially because it's in that retrograde zone. But then we have the last card of the week. So where is this all heading? We've got the moon. And look at how beautiful she is. I love the art on these cards, actually. It's very fresh and pretty. This is about trusting your intuition. I talk about this a lot, but here we have the moon. The moon is about facing your fears, and of course, it's a Pisces element, and this is the water, and it's very so the numerology is 18-9, so it's accomplishment, it's endings. But this is really the words for this are, dreams, subconscious, facing your nebulous fears, the watery nature of the unconscious mind, mystery, symbolism, and metaphor, perception, can be uncertainty as well, dreams, powerful visions, and a spiritual experience. So we could all experience that this week, to be quite honest. Okay, so it's so you can see the wolf and the dog howling at the moon here. So one is aloof, wild, and cunning. That's the wolf. Okay, and then the dog is the eager to please and affectionate. So she can't see which one is which. So you can't see which is the wolf and which is the loyal one. Okay, so you really have to kind of look into the shadows and face those fears to see what can be trusted and what is love for you. Okay, so you get the idea. So but it's a very liminal card. Okay, so I love the moon, of course. So I'm going to read the message actually from the blog for this deck of cards. So the message from the moon is, when faced with uncertainty, it can feel like we're drowning in the unknown. Trust that you will be okay, even if you can't seem to discern up from down right now. When you stop struggling to see that which you simply cannot see in your shadows, you will experience a deep release that will allow you to float to the surface of your truth. The moon card asks you to go within and to calmly listen to the whispers of your own intuition. There is divinity here. She asks you to find comfort in the darkness. There is magic here. When you choose to fall into the moon's still waters, your inner wisdom will embrace you and then push you toward the light. Pause to seek, and seek to feel, and feel to float, and float to thrive. Follow your breath all the way up. The moon's gentle caress offers you the key to your subconscious mind and asks you to submerge your thoughts in her shadowy messages. She will reinvigorate your creativity and resurrect your spark as long as you reach beyond your own fears in order to find her. Sometimes this card illustrates that you cannot possibly know everything about your situation. And sometimes the shadow creates thick illusion, even for the most discerning eye. Dive into the moon's healing embrace. Breathe past insecurities and let her dimly lit magic guide you home. And to yourself, yeah. Oh God, I'm doing a Biden whispering into the mic. I don't like when he does that. Don't get me wrong, because I want Biden to stay in and win. It's not because, I just love him. I'm not in the cult of Biden or anything, though I find him quite endearing sometimes. But I just know the system and know how hard it would be to replace him at this point and what chaos it would cause. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez also brought up the point that because of the way that the Republicans, the GOP, work at the moment, there would be legal challenges for the new person who replaced Biden, if he's replaced at this point, because of ballot access, all those things. So that could end up being another election decided by the Supreme Court. And, well, we know what they are like. So to me, it's just people are losing their heads thinking if he pulls out at this point, it's a good idea. Also, there is emerging chatter about poll rigging. I don't know if you remember that Michael Cohen testified that the Orange One had him pay for poll rigging. It's a thing. Just saying. All right. Peace out. Have a good week.